All right, back at it. So I think I will call this complete. So we were working on the track yesterday, and it was kind of nice, right? I think we had what? This is basically what we had. But in addition, I actually went back and I wanted to extend this. For some reason, I was like listening back to it after a while, and I was like, wait, I actually hear something. I don't want to go to this part just yet. So we introduced this part here. And this actually kind of eases this out. Not that I was not that I was counting, right? But it makes it work. And I think it actually gives it it's slightly better with that. So let me play that. And of course I had to get the rewrite the bass. I mean, it was easy, right? We just this part and then let's move this other part over. So now it sounds like this. Yeah. Then it goes to this part, right? All right. Now for the stuff that I added. So I was kind of playing around with the strings yesterday, right? And I was like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I get lost in this stuff, and then my ears, right, they start getting tired, and then like stuff just doesn't start sounding right. However, again, came back to it. I'm like, you know what? It actually works, and I actually had a melody for it. And then this is something completely new, along with this part, which I think actually goes in here to kind of create like another section. I'm not 100% sure on this part just yet, but it works. Check it out. So you can hear this right here. It's just kind of this background, right? Support right there. And then we got this. Might be a little loud, so forgive me for it, but so that way there's something in there, right? And then this will be next. I gotta break all these parts down so that I can actually kind of manipulate the drums a little bit more, right? I don't want them some of those sounds to be like that repetitive. Um, yeah, but that's what I got so far, and I think that pretty much kind of completes it. At least like all the sounds that I wanted. and then I can kind of fight with like arrangement. Like, say I don't want, so many sounds here. Cause that's quite a bit, right? I don't know. Like maybe this, you know, in anything, right? It's kind of like how I want to arrange it. There's not too much to do, but just so it's not like super busy. Cause like right here we get this addition, right? And then having this in here, or I could go ahead and rip that out so it's not in this part, but maybe it's over here in this part. At that point, I can kind of start like, tailoring things for, specific situations or leave things as they are, right? But yeah, so we still got these, and then there are, let's see, I think we did this one. Looks like we used this one. We didn't use this one at all, which is okay. So we got some chimes here, and then I have this reverse crash, right? That we still need to insert in here somewhere. So a couple more things to kind of like put in there, and then work on the arrangement, and then it's ready to mix at that point. What is this and why? Hold on. I see. Wait, did it not? It didn't. Okay. That might have made a difference. We can figure out this stuff later. This is just my routing and stuff like that. I think what I'm gonna try this time, like it's just more on the mixing side, is basically for as long as I can remember, I've been creating the drum bus and just sticking like all my drums through there. Um, but I want to try taking the kick and the snare, give it its own bus. It's not anything new, right? Um, but from what I'm hearing, you can get some better control for the drums. Like you can pretty much focus like on the low end separately on what it might need, or bringing out, as much as you need in the low end. Because once you put all the drums through there, that's your kick, your snare, your hats, all that stuff, and then all of it's getting pretty much goes through whatever tools that I've set up, if it's saturation, whatever. And while it's not bad and it's pretty much a like standard way to do things, um, there's a slightly better way, depending on genre, right? And in this situation, I would like to try it and see if I can get like a bit more out of like my kick and snare. See if I can get it to hit a little bit harder, without having to like sacrifice anything, right? See if I can get just a little bit more out of it, um, and then see, because again too with the saturation on like the hats, like things that are very high frequency, you tend to get like this like sizzle or like extra harshness to it or whatever. So to be able to kind of, you know have a little more control, since you're not like just going okay here, boom, and then maybe you didn't do enough, or maybe it felt like you did too much. Just kind of have control of those different ranges of frequency, and then, you know balance it however I got to do, like by fader or whatever. But I want to try that this time around, whenever I get to the mix, and see how that turns out. But yeah, I liked it. I think this is complete. Like I said, we got a couple more, minor things to add in here, and then that's it. But as far as like the melodies and stuff go, we're good. Oh, I cut that off too short, didn't I? That's okay. Okay, and then again, let's actually put this one. See if we can. That actually works for me. Actually, let's treat that separate. Put it over here for right now. We'll do something a little do something a little different for that, and I'll get these separated as well. Okay. So, just getting some stuff renamed right now. And then with this, I don't know if I'm gonna do the 2. I think I still might do it. But if we don't like it, right, we can easily just get rid of it. This is kind of has more the like mid range, and then this is just more of like the low end, right? But we could always that sounds good. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's just right. We just throw it out the window. Okay, so let's put that 15, 16, 17, 18. Go to 19. Some 20. Okay. Wait, why is that? Oh, that's right. Okay. Wait, no. Didn't I put this on? It must have been when I moved everything. Ten, 11, 12. Okay, we're good. All right, and then we go here. Here I have it sort by the track number, so it will arrange everything by the track number. I think that was probably one of the coolest things that they did. All right, here we go. So let's take this. Sorry, wrong ones. Sorry, I'm 14. We'll take these. We'll route them here. All right. Base, we're not gonna route into here, and this. I guess so. It's not a. Okay, so we should have all of our routing. Yeah, that goes there. All right, cool. So at least with our drums, since we have them right, so since we got these numbered, we already know these are gonna just lay down in order, right? We're gonna go to our mixer. We got everything named. If you want to add colors, whatever, you can do that here, and then right click, go to not file, go to channel routing, and you're gonna route the selected channel starting from this track. And what it's gonna do is from 2, which I have selected, right? 2, it's gonna sit everything in, right? And it's gonna color it, it's gonna name it, it's gonna do all of that, right? So I do that here, and then all I do is just tell it to route it. It's gonna do that, but it does not mess up my like my buses or anything like that. It just literally copies that information here, sets a channel for it. But since I already have that set, I already knew where to start, right? And then here it starts on 10, so I could take these, go here to 10, same thing. It'll label those in for me, and then that's the bus for that. Then 14, right? And we're still naming these, so once we get these named, I'll get these in here, and then that part is pretty much done. I don't know, it's a bunch of synth-like stuff, so you know what? Tell you what, let's just call it what it is. Imagine having like synth 1 through 8. Kind of nuts, right? Uh, okay. And those are our strings. And of course, all right, so from 14 down to 20, we'll just grab these. Done. All right, now that's all together. I don't have to worry about that. And then I'll just double click. Just gonna select all of these. I can do Control C. And I just go to another pattern, Control V. All right, and then I'm just gonna separate. So these are all my, these are the 2 snares that I have together. That was kind of clutch, right? To go from that. Those are just kind of like fit the way they did and just give that. I can't lie. Sometimes I wonder about myself. All right, so let's take these. Let's take the snares out. These are all of the hats except for this one. We can get rid of that. All right, put those here. Get rid of these. This is gonna be the crash. We'll probably do something like. I think I might do something like that. I know what we could do. Yeah, maybe we could do that. But here. You know what? I know what I'll do right here. I should have it. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't. You know what? I think when I moved everything over, I had to get rid of the. Okay. Oh man, come on now. All right, and I don't remember exactly what folder it's in, so yeah, I won't be searching for it right now. But I had like a vibra slap. I was gonna use that instead of the crash. That way, it's like just something there for the change. But for whatever reason, I don't have it right here anymore. Might be a good placeholder. So I would have seen it by name. The joys of starting over. All the stuff that I had like favorited and moved over here, I had to get rid of, and this is basically new. So as I've been recreating after I got my new N.2, I moved everything over onto it, which I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. It hurt. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. Um, Pretty much, I had all of like complete control on my external hard drive, and yeah, the rewrite speeds on those old drives are not that great, but I had to do what I had to do, right? So I was like, all right, cool, I could do that for now. But it started getting to a point where I started using so many of these, and projects were like taking forever to load because had to reach to the external to like get that info. I was like, what am I doing right now? This is crazy. And it was taking like 3 minutes to load like a library. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was nuts. So, I had to, I had to bite the bullet. But the cool thing is, I got so much extra space now. So I went and bought new M.2. It was 8 terabytes. You could imagine. You could imagine. I sat there and I just stared. And I stared and I stared and I stared and I stared. I said, do I really need it? But let me tell you, I actually need it. Here, could we, where is it? Alright, so, uh, complete. I have the collector's edition for it complete. It's 1.5. All right, it's 1.5 terabytes. We're just talking about complete. I'm not talking about Windows. I'm not talking about any games I have. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about complete. That's how we're hearing all these nice sounding guitars and all that, right? It's 1.5 terabytes. That's before anything else. It's crazy, right? Then all the other sounds and drum kits and stuff like that that I've bought and other VSTs. So you want to talk about like easily taking like 3 terabytes, maybe even more. And as you can see, I'm already halfway through it. And I probably have like 6 games installed on here. And no, there's no Call of Duty or GTA, so it's not like it's killing me, right? And I'm already halfway through it. That was pretty much like day one. So yeah, I needed it. I needed it. It hurt, but I got it, and I'm happy. But when I did that and moved everything over, first of all, that was a long wait to have it right 1.5 terabytes. You want to talk about going to sleep, waking up, and it's still telling you you gotta wait for this transfer? So, uh, once all that happened, everything I had over here that I had put a star, like it couldn't find where the sound was, right? Because of the original place that I had the sound stored. So I had to erase maybe a couple of hundred in here, and then I had to restart. So as I would go finding stuff, I would just hit the stars so I could favorite it. And so yeah, I thought I had it. I don't have it. So that means I gotta go find it again. It's somewhere, but once I find it, I'll start. Okay, so at least we know what we want to do there. So I'm gonna leave this gap right here. We're not even gonna touch it. Um, Here, that's fine. We can just leave the crash symbols. I'm not even worried about it. And then let's go to. I'm gonna leave 14 blank because that's where we're gonna put that one sound at. So let's go to 15. Okay, and then we get rid of all of this. I think I'll just leave this all on. Actually, no. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Because I don't want that. All right. So maybe. Let me see something. I think I'll still leave. How about we just leave that like here or something? Here, and then. Sorry. And then what I'm gonna do is go here, and then we're gonna remove everything except for our kit. All right. So maybe I could put it like right here. And then the Viber slap will be here. Right? So think it's gonna be like this. This one. Minus 15. That works. Maybe one a little bit louder. Nah, I still want that a little louder. Okay, so pre-mix is good, and then at some point, I don't know why I have this on here. Okay, nothing else is on. Cool. I want to create some kind of an intro too. Wait, hold on. Got you. Okay. Wait, what did I do? I didn't do it. Really? Just by doing. Well, yeah, I get it now. All right. Okay, let's see. As you guys can see, even though it's like huge. So, listen really quickly. Just to. So, normally from like 70 to 90, you're gonna find that punch in the kick, right? somewhere there. I'm just sweeping across there. Right after that, it starts to kind of thin out. Right, not as great. And then down here, we don't want all that because I'm like 80. Well, that's why, because this was up. I was like, why did it just spike all of a sudden? Right there, sounds kind of hollow. We don't want that, and it's gonna help tighten up the kick. And sometimes if you feel like it's not cutting through the mix very well, somewhere between 1 to 3K, you can get some attack or like clarity in your kick, right? Which will kind of help it cut through. Right around 2K. We won't do a lot. And then for this, just to kind of hold it. And we can do the slow release. All right, once that light comes up here, that's saying that we're getting about 3 dBs of attenuation. But when you don't see the light, it doesn't mean that it's not working. So I just slowly backed off of it till I don't see it anymore, which means we're probably getting somewhere around 2 dB, right? If we get to 3, this will light up. So just very little bit on here. I don't want to do anything like more unless I need to. Slow attack so we can get more of like a punch from the kick, and a fast release because this is a very short sound, and then we gain volume. So we can either do it this way or this way. I prefer this way. I think there's a difference in the sound as it's moved versus this, right? So actually, there's a difference between wanting to use the fader or using the output knob. So you can actually kind of change the tone of it, which they don't tell you, by the way. It's like, oh, here's an option for you. All right, so we were about -9. So big rule, after you make changes, always return the volume to where you originally had it. That way your ears are not being deceived when you think you made a good decision and turns out you didn't make a good decision at all, right? Or like I used to do, I used to just start moving stuff, faders and EQing and not returning volume and stuff like that. And then I get to the end of it, I'm like, how? I did everything. What's going on? Right? Make sure you return your volume back. So when we get done with this, we should just have a nicer, a cleaner version of what we started with before we started mixing. If I A-B this whole thing and it sounds like it was like really quiet and now it's really loud, we got problems. I promise you. I promise you. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me as somebody who was a beat club member and posted one of his beats and got flamed. Trust me on that, right? Trust me on that. That dude was like, ow, my ears. I was like, what? What are you talking about, man? He was like, it was too loud. I'm like, why you got your headphones up so loud? But I didn't realize I didn't realize what was going on, you know. And then once I realized what was going on, I blew up my own eardrums. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, that's what I've been doing? Oh no. Oh no no no. So when these are, that's what I should have did here. I didn't do that. My bad. I gotta remember these routing things. So we got two different snares here, so hold on. For right now, let's do this. We won't use this, but let's use this. Is that about 7? Okay, it's about 250. Definitely hear the bass in that. Right? And then 700. Um, Almost gonna be sure. It's gonna be somewhere here. This, we're actually gonna turn down. And the reason why we're doing that is because we have two different snares, right? So I have one that's got more of a bottom end, and I got one that's got more of, the attack. So what I do is I boosted the bottom end on the snare that has, more of that boom to it, right? It makes it very warm. And then with the other one, of course, we can boost up in the higher frequencies and get that to come out a little bit more. And then when those blend, bam. All right, so we're still not done, but all right, let's do the same thing here. So usually here, because these are just the individual drum sounds, everything I do here is like pretty much light. Now the clean, like if I gotta take out some frequencies or something like that, all right, standard, whatever. But as far as like compression and stuff goes, this is like very light because once we get here, I'm actually gonna apply compression to all of it, and we can push in a bit more and stuff like that. But this is just you'll see. There's like this consistency. I don't know how to explain it, but it's still nothing. Nice. All right, so definitely getting something here, but we're still not getting a light. So again, somewhere between 1 and 3 dBs of compression, and that's all we need, right? This is done. Okay. This one, we can now smooth this. set up our routing. So that starts to sound too thin. I'm gonna go to about 260. I could do that without actually ruining this one. But the reason why I'm gonna just stop at 260, though I could probably push in a bit further, is because there's no need. And the snares where I boosted that first snare about 260, so we'll kind of get a little crossover, right? Where it's that snare is boosted, but this other snare is gonna just now be coming in, so it kind of gives its own little space, right? Not bothered. So you can hear that pretty good. Okay, and let's go fishing. So let's turn this up. Let's sweep it. Anytime I find like an area where it sounds very boxy or kind of hollow, kind of sounds like that, right? Anytime I can hear that at a very high volume, so as you see, I had the Q up really high. Once you hear that area, I always cut it. That's the less we hear of it, the better, right? Especially as the volume is being turned up. So that area, once you turn that area down, once you find that range, it always makes the sound tighter. Snares, all of it. It works on everything. As an example here. See how much better that sounds? Nice, right? And then, if you wanted to like turn up some parts where it's like better sounding, right? Now it sounds really, really cool. Or if you just want to try it out, just pull this down as much as you can, just sweep and listen for it. Right? Right when you get around here, you start losing the bass in that sound. But right here, it's like a good mixture. You can kind of hear the low end, get the high end, but you're not really hearing the. It's kind of hard to explain if you do it this way, but when you do it this way, you can definitely hear that, right? You can also pull that off here as well, right? Lower your Q a little bit, not too low, but sweet. That little hollow that you're hearing, that goes down. Right? Right? You can turn any sound you have to gold. I'm telling you. Gotta know what you're poking at. Alright, so let's go back to. Alright, so in the other snare, we turned down this range, right? In that like 2K area. So I'm going to here we're getting the clarity even with it all the way up like that. It's not like trying to pierce your ears, right? Like that, like not trying to kill your eardrums. There's not a lot of hissing or anything. It just sounds really cool right there, right? That's what we call clarity. We got that, right? And then we just want to boost that a little bit. And then let's do the same thing here. Probably not gonna get it to. Okay, cool. So it means you got a little something. I can definitely tell that because we had that here. It is now here. Let's go ahead and back down. right? Now, all right. So we're just cleaning this stuff up as we go. This is pretty simple. Don't do too much with the hats. Here I can only get up to like 350. I mean, if you wanted, I guess you can kind of use this to get up a little closer. But I find you don't really need to do that. If I need to cut in some more or something, I'll probably be up here or here. But we'll set this, turn this all the way up. I'm gonna set this to about 12. Some people leave it right at about 15. I tend to go in a little bit more. It doesn't, as long as it's still clear, right? You can still hear it. But I like to try and go in and take out as much of the brightness or the air in it. And like I said, once you get over here, if you want to like add more to that or make it a little bigger, you can. But my whole thing here is just to clean up what's there. And if I hear air or brightness harsh from the hats and all that ringing, I'm cutting all that stuff out, right? All right, so I'm not necessarily hearing anything that is standing out here that says I need to go like any further with this, right? Like it's fine. And the only thing you're gonna do is make a mess of this if you try and feel like you gotta do something else. So 9 times out of 10, I do high pass, low pass on the hats, and then that's it. You don't need to do anything. They're already super energetic. It's already at a really high frequency, and you want to kind of, if you did boost it, you're only gonna do like 1 or 2 dB before this gets out of control, and you're not even gonna notice it. So the only time I would maybe grab the like another band for it is if it was just kind of pointy, right? Some of those hats are just like right. Okay, I would go and maybe around the 10K area. It's usually where you'll find the spot, and then cut into it to make it a little quieter or not as loud, right? So it fits in with the rest of the other things you might have going on. But other than that, no. All my hats, simple. Um, so, matter of fact, we can do the same thing here. I'm just gonna click here, click and drag, take it here, and then I'll copy that plugin, all the settings over. Leave this alone. We don't need it. That's fine. Sure. No chance that it's being triggered or anything. Okay, so we did lose a little volume, it looks like. So let's return. Now, I used to put my hats at around like -18, but I started learning people were setting it to like -21. And I was like, that sounds kind of quiet at first. And then once you start doing everything else and all the other processing, quickly learn that's actually a very good spot. Okay, boom. And this is our open hat, so we might have to do something here just from listening to it, but I gotta return that, so it's not too bad sounding though. So let's say for instance I want to tone that down a little bit. You should go to about the 10K area and just drop here. Right? Sounding might be a little more towards the 8K, but usually it's somewhere. There we go. A little bit closer. And then, oh, we do the bell. Is it lower? That would be a surprise. Higher? Dropping more. Yeah, like I said, usually around the 10K area. So with this, let's take it like 4. That wasn't bad at all. I'm running out of room here. Okay, so let's do this. There we go. See? Now it's not all like hissy. And again, we're just being subtle here. We're just taking out stuff we don't like and slightly enhancing things that we do like. Cause when we get over here, okay. That's fine. This is gonna be a little loud for right now, so actually what we could do is great. Okay, so with all the drums done, now we can go here. Basically what I'm doing and why you're seeing me doing this is doing more of a mixing console emulation. So we're basically treating each one of our tracks as if, you know, we were sitting at a mixing console, which means pretty much everything is going to be done the same way. This is going to be the first thing that we do, and then if there is anything else we're going to use, then that gets routed, right? So this I don't need to, but I'm still going to. It's good practice. That's right. Get to about there. Now here, if we wanted to, I'm not gonna do anything like compression wise here because we got something else we're gonna use. But if you wanted, I guess you could do something just like really light, just to kind of, you know, and then go for gold after. But here, if you want to, right, you have access to an EQ. So if you wanted to like maybe boost the low end just a little bit more, you could also do that. This is a shelf. Now that it's all clean, right, you're just turning up all the good stuff. Let's just do a little bit. Basically, I just did it from here, but the reason why I would rather do it here, I would rather have this this bell. Even though I could select that here, but by default, this is a shelf, so it would just go from 3K and then raise everything up, which is not what I'm looking for. You know what else I'm not looking for? I'm not looking for my routing because It's not even on. So, all right, there we go. I'm like, it's kind of not booming the way I thought it was supposed to boom. What's going on? But yeah, there we go. So just give us a little bit more. So we're sitting about here. As you can see, it's jumped. That moves a little bit. That's okay. Okay. Let's put our ratio on 10 to 1. So what I like about this is you have options for like actually shaping your sound, right? So we can control like the knee and stuff like that. And you can actually get your drums to sound a little bit different than it did before you ran it through here. I'm gonna lie, I actually like that. It seems like it's knocking a bit more. And then this is a little more like tighter. I'm gonna leave it like that. It's got auto makeup gain here, so it looks like it's in manual though. But if you didn't want to, you could always just do like an auto. Yeah, it's fine with me. All right, and I still like the 15 sound. This is just giving more of like the higher frequencies. So it's kind of letting me add more to it. So you can hear right here. And I just did just a little bit of it. So it just opens it up a little bit. All right. So that was our, actually we can, that's basically our before. That's our after. Let's come back to that, right? So for this, what I'm gonna do is, it doesn't seem like I'm really cutting into that at all. Or did I choose the, yeah, thanks a lot. All right, here we go. I did something, cause normally I would at least, there we go. So once we get here to about 350, kind of cutting into the like base of this, which I don't want to get rid of, but a good safe place is anywhere from 120 hertz to 160 hertz. You can run a high pass when it comes to like all of your instruments, brass, pianos, whatever. This usually allows for you, right? Because your kick, you boosted maybe at like 70, and your snare was probably, close to like 200. So right around this range, right? You kind of allow these other elements to kind of have their own space, because we don't need those instruments for whatever you're using them for, right? To be in the low end if they have no business being in the low end, right? And let's take it just to be safe. I didn't necessarily hear anything, so this might be a little lower than. So maybe. Right, you don't really hear anything till you get about right here. And then it starts to kind of like shine through. But even here, like there's no change in the sound almost. Maybe a little bit right here, like 4K, which this only stops at 3. So we're not really cutting into anything or doing anything here. All right, and then again, that hollow boxy area, cut it. All right. Let's do like a 3-to-1. Nice. You know what? Let's try something. This is not what I was looking for. Did not hear. Yeah, that's what we need. So for my guitar here, we're gonna run a high pass at about 32. And the reason being, first, I can't really see the slope on this, so this is safe. Second of all, I'm going to use a shelf as opposed to a bell, which is gonna right all the way to the left. So, and we don't too much worry about this over here. Kick, we boosted our kick at about 70. Do you have to come over here and do that right here? You don't. You could just stay at the 60 mark if you want to, but I'm gonna do it. So I'm at 80, and I'm gonna drop the bass about 3 dB. And again, because I know the bass is occupying that space, we not move. All right, since it's occupying that space, and so is the kick, we need them to play together, right? So I want to be able to hear my kick and still be able to hear my bass, right? Clearly. Got something like this. Still not on. Jesus Christ. What is wrong with you, Majestic? Alright, so if we got something like this, it starts getting hard to kind of hear your kick, right? I don't care if you sidechain that bad boy, you're still gonna have problems. So, cool, right? Because you gotta bring the volume back up anyway. So, that in turn, you can actually hear, it becomes a bit more audible, and you don't need a lot when it comes to sub-frequency information for it to get out of control, right? We just want that sub-frequency information, enough of it to create a rumble in our low end, but we don't need it out of control, right? If you start hearing when it's playing, it's too much. That's too much, all right? So I usually run the high pass anywhere from like 32 to 40 hertz, right? If you have a 6 dB slope, that's enough to cover over, even down to the 20 hertz range, which nobody's really gonna hear. Most people's speakers, right? The frequency cutoff is 32 hertz, right? Which is why I place my thing there and let it just fall off, right? And unless you got a 600, 700, 800, $1,000 sub, your speaker's not even registering that, right? And if you did, even if you cut it completely off at like 32, the sub doesn't care. It's still picking up 32 hertz, right? But, you know, yeah, some people just want it there. You just want to see it. All right, take it to about 40 hertz. Leave it on the 6 dB slope. We don't want anything sharp, right? And let it just slowly curve on through. And so you'll still have it, right? But the lower you go, the less of it you need. You do not need a crap ton of low end. And if in your speakers you're not able to really hear it, get you some bigger speakers. Right? I got JBLs over here. They're 6.5. So, you know, and I don't even have them up all the way, and I can still hear my bass, right? Like I can still hear that even in like the low end. And if I want to crank it up, I definitely vibrate a block or two. I'm just saying. So, yeah, it doesn't take very much at all. Be generous, and then if you are trying to get more energy out of it or something like that, then oh, you have things like that, right? Put some saturation on it. Use the fruity overdrive. Like add the distortion. Like do what you gotta do, right? That's all this is. It's just driving the signal, right? Getting it to the 0 pointer, going over, right? So that you get that subtle saturation, right? AKA clipping, but it's subtle, and so you get this thing, right? All we're doing is driving the signal, which in turn is going to give you more energy to that signal, right? Because we're cranking up the volume, and then you just return the volume where you got it from, but it's still being driven, right? So you can take, okay, that's it. That's all it does. It's not a magic button. You push it and the sound goes boom, right? We're just adding energy. That's it. That's it. But let's keep going. All right, so I took it over here to about 80, where I boosted my kick, right? Um, and what I'm gonna do is a lot of times, right? You have your like snare and stuff, and you might be playing a bass, and this bass might seem like you're having trouble getting the bass to sit in your mix, right? You probably didn't notice it, but if you actually paid attention, right, what you would notice is where your reason why it's not sitting the way it needs to sit is because over in the 2 to like 300 hertz area, it's actually like really boomy there, right? Let's okay. Now you see how it seems like it's kind of masking over your snare. Your snare don't seem to be coming through very much. You can still kind of hear the kick, but like anything else, just kind of seems like, right? And I'm just showing you at an extreme, right? But you might have an 808 or something like that, and it just seems like it's in the front, and you're like, how do I get it to like sit behind the drums? So come over here to that 200 hertz area and you turn it down, and next thing you know, it's not so present in your face, right? You still got the low end rumble. We ain't touched the sub frequencies, but now your snare comes through. Now these other things come through, right? Let's make it a little bit. I don't want to, not too wide. See, could we get rid of these? Okay. Guess that doesn't matter. Ah, one thing that you can do with this that you can't do with a lot of other plugins is we could actually change this. So if you listen, I'm gonna actually switch this from line to mic. I'm gonna cut the volume by 20 dB so I can at least turn it up. It gives you the, or it creates the illusion of it being like recorded through a mic. And then that's just directly into, right? That's your line in. Yeah, that's pretty dope, right? Forgot about that. I wanted to start using that on my instruments. There's like there's a subtle change that it does to it, which is, it's crazy. Uh, yeah, let's get it close. That is cool. Then what I'm gonna do is, well, we didn't have to get that crazy. Just down a little bit more. All right, and I'm gonna add that saturation. Oh, first let me do this. I like that sound better. For some reason, yeah, it's like really clean, but it's got a little distortion to it. Now it's starting to sound like something. Wait, where the? Oh, okay. Okay, so for this, it should be pretty simple. Are we going too far? It. Take it to 8. That's 7. Perfect. All right, cool. So again, things I'm looking to do when I high pass or like low pass is I'm looking to either take out unnecessary bass that's in a particular sound, or I'm looking to take out unnecessary uh, air or like brightness or like the harsher frequencies, right? If a crash cymbals like from ringing from I don't know 8K to 18K, like it's a little too much, right? So you start, trimming in till you can still hear the sound. It just doesn't sound like it's all out here, right? You just want it to be contained. Once you find that, that's it. You don't have to go any further, right? And then if you needed to to hear it a little better or something like that, then you can go in and start messing with curves or whatever. But as you're listening to this, right after that, shh, right, you can kind of hear it's a little pointy, kind of spiky, right? If you were to like turn this up really loud, that tail end of that sound kind of start whipping you after a while, right? So I just want to push in just enough to where I don't really hear that anymore. Now my ears feel a lot better, right? As opposed to hear that hissing, that right there, that'll mess you up. Big speakers used in a club, something like that, and you like right next to it or not too far from it. Because don't forget that those higher frequencies are shorter waves. All right, want to blow your eardrums out? That's a good way to do it. It's a good way to do it. But yeah, you'll definitely start getting the pain like a lot quicker. Notice like a lot of commercially made, right? Professionally done music. You can sit there and listen to that stuff for hours, right? But a bad mix or like a few bad mixes in a row, and an hour later you like I'm starting to get a little dizzy or a little headache, or my ears are starting to hurt a little bit. I need to take my headphones off, whatever, right? That's how you know. Body will tell you. All right, so where did we originally have this? 15 or 18? 18. Okay. So I don't think I want to do anything else with this. I don't really hear anything like. Uh, I mean, if anything, let's see. So it is here. So let's just drop this a little bit. And the reason I'm going to do that is think of your here, let's see if I can give you a quick example. Let's take two sounds that I haven't done anything to just yet. One of those necessarily. Okay. Nope, I think it goes here. Okay, let's take this out real quick. So we got two sounds, roughly sound like they're around the same octave, right? So you're bound to get some clashing here, and you're gonna want to hear these clearly, right? So the first thing you think about is what sound goes into the foreground and what goes into the background. And you're like, what? And you gotta understand that though we're using these tools and all that, we're basically manipulating time and space. Think about it, right? With compression, with delay, with reverb, right? We create the room, we're manipulating time and space when we're doing this, right? So when you look at your EQ, look at your EQ as it's a room, it's a stage, right? And so here you are from left to right, but the way you're looking at this way you're looking at this stage as if you're looking up from the top of the stage and you're looking down, right? So this is the floor, okay? If I want the listener, okay, we don't have new technology and mics and all that, right? If I want the listener to hear something more than something else, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna push it to the front of the stage, right? As I push it to the front of the stage, it gets louder, becomes louder to the person who's on the other side sitting in the audience, right? And if I push it back, then it gets quieter. Okay? Think about it that way. Take all the fancy EQ knowledge you know and throw it out the window. This is your stage. You want it to be louder, then you move it to the front, you boost. You want it to be quieter, then you're going to move it to the back. You're going to cut. All right? So if I got two sounds that are playing, and I don't want to hear this sound as much as I want to hear the strings, then all I got to do is sweep, right? Pull it up, sweep across. Sounds really clear right here. Okay, I found a sweet spot. And then what I'm going to do is turn it down. You're not taking it out. You're not taking it away. Okay, this is not a high cut or a notch where you're like indefinite, right? In a certain area. All you're doing is turning it down. You can still hear that. It's just quiet, right? That's all we're doing. So what you would do in an instance like this is you would go, okay, my strings are picking up over here somewhere. Let's just say it's resonating here. So I would then drop that here, right? That's going to push this to the back and then it'll allow you to hear the strings, right? Because the sweet spot would be roughly in that same area, right? But here, we don't have that problem so much. We just have it's over here in its own place, right? It's actually in the mid range, but we can still drop that so that it's not as present. And then again, cut out things that we don't need. We're not missing that. And again, you create room, and all this is free for something like this to play, and now not have to hear the ringing. Let's see. And not have to hear the ringing that was flying across here, even though it didn't look like it was very much, right? But all that, plus the strings, plus anything else that might be going on, all those frequencies are gonna stack volume-wise, right? And you're gonna run into some problems. So we do the low pass, we do the high pass, we wanna push in on each side of the sound as much as we can, right? Without affecting the sound or thinning it out or making it sound dull or you can't really hear it and it gets lost in the mix. And then we work with what we have in the inside there. But this is your stage. Okay, and you can make things happen, right? Or you start thinking about, oh, if I had a brass section, where would they be? They would be in the back. So when you go to that 1 to 3K area and you find out that's where the brass is brightest, don't boost the mother. Put it to the back. It belongs in the back of the stage, okay? So you're gonna cut, right? And then you'll notice, oh, I can still hear my brass section, but now it doesn't sound like it's trying to cut through my piano. Right, which is probably going to be in the same area, right, in terms of a sweet spot. And so now you can actually have the piano play while the brass plays, and it sounds. You give the illusion that the brass is playing behind the piano. That's how that works. So whenever we run into issues like that, where we hear sounds that are, roughly in like the same frequency range and they're kind of clashing when you first hear it, cool. We have EQ and then we have panning, right? So not only do we have that stage, right, with the frequencies, but we also have the stereo field, right? And that's a stage in itself. And we can move things around there as well, right? So use everything to your advantage, and that's how we make it work. All right, so let me go back to this. All right, let's take it on back. So what I'm gonna do is, because there are other things, right, like our strings, the Rhodes, right, which we boosted here as well, right? Instead of having this, since it's resonating here in that same area, now it's cutting in front of the Rhodes. We don't want that. We want this to sound like it's in the back supporting the Rhodes. So we're gonna cut at this frequency so it can sound more like it's a background sound, right? And then when you time to go move your fader and blend everything in, you can get a nice little blend and it sounds like this thing is playing in the back, right? That's how we do that. So as long as you remember that, all right, your EQ, look at it as a stage, just picture it, right? Anything you boost is going to be pushed to the front of the stage. It's going to sound louder or appear louder to the listener, and anything you push to the back of that stage is going to sound quieter. And as long as you keep that in mind, right, you can't mess up. You cannot mess up the EQ. You can't mess it up. It's one of the most fun things that, at least from a technical standpoint, that I like to do, because it's like find it. Where is it at? Get out of here, right? You can stay. We'll yeah, just turn that up just a little bit, yeah. How does that sound with everything else? Okay, perfect. Okay, we turned that up. Okay, wait. I didn't know. I forgot about that sound that came in there. Okay, let's put that one behind that one, right? Like that's pretty much what goes through our heads a lot of times, right? It's like making these decisions. All right, so we got that. Let's see where we 18. Got you. A little bit more, a little bit more, and we're back where we were. Okay, and then why not? Now I think about this, I should have made a separate bus for this, but it's okay. Okay, I think that works. Okay, and it still gives us access to the reverb. We're good. This might not work out too well. How are we supposed to drive this thing? Alright, so what I want to do here is... Nah, I've got this in the off selection, so we're not even hearing any feedback. Oh, that was cool. I'm gonna lie. Which one is it that has like a... I don't want that. Actually, hold on. Here. No. I thought there was... I thought it was this, but it's... Maybe I have no idea what I'm doing. I thought it was the end of it, but... Why is... Let me find out. Rates down, feedback's down. This is up, but it just... Okay. We don't have to use you. It's okay. It's okay. Shh. Get good. Actually, what I could do is add that here. That'll work out. Okay. Also, when it comes to your reverb, do not hesitate to use the low cut. All right. Basically, all that is taking out the lower frequencies. Again, it's like high pass, low pass. If you see low cut, that's the same thing as saying high pass. And if you see high cut, it's the same thing as saying low pass, right? So it's doing the same thing. It's different terminology. So we're going to clear out those bass frequencies so we don't have reverb running in the lower end of the sound, right? Or any sound that we're going to use. Unless for some reason you want it there. And in that case, you know, hey. We can create a room. Let's make it a smaller room. It don't have to be like just a tad. The decay. Let's play. And I'm just listening. I'm finding a time where it just sounds natural. I like that. Cool. Next, I'm gonna drop this. I'm gonna raise this. And then I do something I don't think people really do, but I find it helps. And that is I turn on my bass. And then I lower this. Do 60. Alright? And then I bring this back. Right? So, nice. This is already here. Let's go into the next one. These are like shorter sounds, so this is probably boring, but it gotta get done, right? So, second one is that's not the second one. All right. So again, because I have this bus set up here and this reverb, this sound is also being affected by that reverb. All right. My thing is, where did I put here? Okay. So same thing. That doesn't sound like it's messing with that at all. So listening. That also starts to sound dull. I think that's too far. I want to be able to hear the sound. So that's about 7K. And then we can start moving from there. So I could definitely hear a little bit of like mid range, but we're probably going to be getting rid of that. So let's turn this up. Here. Out there. In that 3K area as well. Doesn't sound so much there. We're more towards 5K. Okay. I'm just gonna bring that down just a little bit because from like 4K to 8K, that can get pretty out of control pretty quick too. So I'm just gonna drop that a little bit. At 15. All right. This we don't need that, so it's fine. It's a pretty short sound, so. Right? So you still hear it. It's just not as loud, right? Again, wanting this to be a background sound. So as this is playing, when that comes in, it just sounds like we're sitting in the back. Yo, Vanilla Ninja in the building. Appreciate you stopping by. How you doing this afternoon, man? Wait, why can't I? There we go. Yes, sir. It's Friday. So now, whenever that sound does come in, okay, it's not just kind of sticking itself out there. It's just it's in the background where we need it. All right, and then this one we haven't used yet, but you guessed it, chimes. But I haven't used that yet, so we're not gonna worry about that. And then let's go. I mean, if anything, that's what I was looking for. Down a little bit. And then maybe something like that. Right? But driving some more energy into it so that it kind of cuts through a little better. Right? But it's still going to sound, right? Once we kind of blend everything in, it'll still sound more of a background. Right? But you'll be able to hear it very clearly. That's the kind of stuff we look for. So I can actually do that from here, but to not get too far ahead of myself, we're still leaving all of our faders at 0. That is also, there's a term for that. It's called zero unity gain. All right, we don't touch faders. We use our input gain, right? If you don't have one here, then first track needs to be gain plugin, right? Trim plugin. Put it there, get your volume levels adjusted. Should be able to hear your entire track, everything in it, right? About as good as you can get it and still be at your target level for your target mix level, right? Then you start adding your effects and all that and properly gain staging, right? Returning your volume back after you use the tool to do processing. When you get done, before you even move the faders, you should have a cleaner version of your pre-mix, right? And you should still be at your target level. After that, then you feel like something needs to come down a little bit or something like that, then you start moving your faders, right? Moving your faders too early could be death for you, right? Um, let's say I have this kick. I'm not gonna touch it, but let's I don't know, that didn't sound right either. Don't talk about it. Um, so let's say I take. Why is it never where I need it to be? Here we go. So let's say I take this EQ, right? And I go and do we not? Where did it go? Why is it on the master? Oh, I see. Let's move that on over here. So here we are. Click here. Should show the channel and delete. All right. So I got this kick. I put it on here. I don't know. It's peaking somewhere way up here, and I'm like, that's too loud. And I go and I do this, and I go, okay. It sounds quieter now. Cool. I got it at a good level. All right. The reason why I brought this up is because I can see the volume of this signal coming in to this mixer channel, right? And the volume coming into the mixer channel says you haven't touched me at all, despite it sounding quieter over here. Why is that? All right, when you're talking about input gain, you're talking about the signal to noise ratio. You're talking about the more that you turn that up and the closer it gets to 0, the more distorted it starts to sound, right? This is the signal coming into the mixer, right? Into the mixing console. When you're dealing with the fader, that's at the end of your chain. All right, see all this right here, and you're like, I put a limiter at the end of my chain. Okay, that's not truly the end of your chain. This is the end of your chain. So at the end of your chain, you turn this out, turn this down. What this is doing is turning down the volume coming out from the mixer into your speakers, but it doesn't affect the sound going in. So if you got a sound that's too loud going in, it's at -1, and you decide to grab your fader, and because the volume, right, you feel like, oh, okay, I'm safe now. You're not, and then you're gonna go and grab an EQ, and the first boost you make, you're gonna be clipping. And then you go to export this thing, and you're like, well, what happened to my drums? How come they're not hitting as hard as they were in the program? Right? It's not you. I mean, it's not the program. It's not the plugins that you're using. It's none of that. It's you didn't properly gain stage, and so now you got your peaks chopped off. And then you went to go and seal the deal when you bounced it out and let the algorithm do what it had to do, and it was just like, yep, gone. And now you have a less than impactful track, and you're wondering why your bass, this, that, and the other. That's why I say get your levels right, and then make sure you properly gain stage. If you do not do that, you're gonna have problems. I had it. All right. Talk about embarrassing. All right. I was in Beat Club. I'm like, yeah, I made this beat, and I did the mix, and I did the master too, and I was like, whew, and threw it up there, and that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Hey, it sounded good to me, right? I just don't turn my speakers up all the way. Who would have known that it was actually like literally too loud, right? And I'm like, what is this guy on about, man? And I was like, he's either hating or I'm doing something wrong. It took me like 3 days, and I realized I was not doing the easiest thing in the world, and that was gain staging. Messed up my whole everything. Now, if I go and pull up one of those files right now and play it, yeah, you'll probably scream too. But but what do you mean? I just did this, and then I went over here and I did this and I did that, and I did no gain staging, no nothing. But I was trying to like crank this thing to 0. It got crazy. So I don't touch them, and I work. And then when I get done, and I can see, right, everything that's playing, I can see in my buses, I can see I'm not clipping in any of my bus tracks, I can see everything, right? And now that I know that I'm good, then I can work. And then if I want to move something around or whatever, that's fine. But at least I know before I started working on this, I was good all the way across the board. Okay, so all of these are done. Really, all we have are a few more sounds right here, and we're out. All right, so let's take this. I'm actually gonna highlight this right here. And as you can see, again, doing this mixing console style emulation, every one of these tracks is gonna have this on here, right? And it kind of gives a consistency. It's not like I'm reaching for this EQ made by this brand, so it works a little differently like this, and I'm reaching for this brand of EQ. Like using this, I have a Swiss Army knife with dynamics, with EQ, right? And so the sound that you get out of it is pretty consistent, it's pretty even. And then if I need something else after I'm done with this, right? If I want to compress it a little more, I feel like it's still not, being contained after the little surgery I did right there, then we can send you to a specialist, right? We can go pull out that 1176 and be like, all right, we're going to push down on this thing. We're going to get the volume more consistent, or we're going to run this through the tape machine, right? We're going to print this out like they would do in analog days, right? We're going to do that. Like then you start adding things, but you don't add too much because you don't feel like you need to do that, especially when you have like 5 plugins sitting right here in your face. Like, don't get me wrong, I have all like the pull text stuff and all that too, right? And again, to do high pass, low pass, that's a tool. To do like really low end, that's a tool. To do mid range, that's a tool. To do that, that's a tool. You could end up having, 7 of these things on here, or you take up one slot and then all the components and stuff that work in it, the transformers, right? The fact that I could actually change, right? Whether you pick black or brown, you get different sound out of it, right? Because of the stuff that went into it. Like, I can't lie, man. It does a lot more than I thought it would. I've never been around any of the hardware, so you know, me like, wow, okay, I see why this works the way it works now. All right, so for this one, we're gonna run this through the mic as well. Let me see, what was our volume? 18. Okay. So right here is about where I boosted the snare. So if I were to boost right here, this isn't gonna work out too good. So what I'm gonna actually do is go here, and we're just gonna drop it. I think for this, I will compress here. I'll do a fast compression. Let's take it to 3. Okay, so we're getting about 3 dB. All right, just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Consistency. Right, so this is going to be a background sound. I'm not too worried about the dynamics. I just want you to be able to kind of hear it. So we're right where you're hearing that, there's kind of like this gap between the low end of it and then the high end, right, where it gets towards the tail. So what this did when I did the compression, right, was I glued those two parts together. All right, so another thing to remember when you're using compression, what we're doing is we're controlling the gap in the dynamic range. All right, so depending on how you set it, you can either take the peaks, press them down, move them closer to the valleys, right? which would be closing the gap in the dynamic range, or like if you set your attack, at a higher speed to let like transients come through, right? Then essentially you're letting the peaks pass and then you're pushing down on everything else, even like the valley, and pushing it closer, right, to itself, which is then leaving you a bigger gap in the dynamic range, right? Which is why you can use compression to get like a punchy kick, or you can use it to round it off and tame a snare or something like that. But that's all depending on your on your settings. But that's pretty much compression, and then you have to return the volume always, right? So once you compress, you start to lose volume. You return that volume, and as they say, you make the louder parts quieter, right? And the quieter parts louder because you have to return the volume, right? So as you push the peaks closer to the floor, and then you have to bring it back up along with the floor, right? So now we got something that's a little bit more rounded. It's a bit more consistent. You can hear it, and you're not just hearing that part. You're actually hearing, right? Which I want you to be able to hear, but I don't want to have to boost that by EQ because that's gonna cause, right? So I created that dip, and we did just enough to push those higher frequencies down to kind of like close that gap, but not making it so far to where you can't tell the difference, right, between like the louder part and the quieter part. So it's just a little bit more, it makes it a little bit more audible. However, again, right, it doesn't interfere with our snare. All right. Another thing we could do here if we wanted to is, that's the wrong thing, is we do the saturation thing. Saturation, it's pretty much like sugar or salt. It's pretty much, you can put it on anything, right? Probably not everything, but still, right? I don't think you put sugar on shit. I don't think, but you get what I'm saying, right? All right, so let's try the signal. I like that a little better. Did I take it to? That was my problem. All right, strings. This should be easy enough. So the bass, that kind of lowing that we're hearing in there. I mean, if you want it, you can definitely keep it. But most times, especially when you got other stuff going on, we don't really care for it, right? So what we're gonna end up doing is take it to about here. Told you. All you gotta do is look for that area. Look for that hollow, boxy area, and the sound just gets 100 times better. Then you don't feel like you need to spend $800 to have somebody come in and professionally play strings for you to have a string sound. You just gotta know how to clean, right? It's like, who goes fishing, right? You know how to clean a fish. Exactly. Just gotta learn how to put some elbow grease in it, that's all. So that's cool, and then I believe right here, we're gonna get some clarity. Now this sound compared to this sound, again, this is where we gotta start thinking, right? Do we want our strings in the front, or do we want them in the back, right? 9 times out of 10, where your string player is gonna be. They're not gonna be in front with the keys player. It's kind of what I'm trying to say. However, what we could do is turn this down. You notice how you can hear the Rhodes a lot better than now? You can still hear the strings. Cause it's like giving the Rhodes, going like, hey, you get in front of me and I'll be behind you, right? I got you. Right? You don't lose it. It's not, don't, you solo this and you go, but this sounds so good. When I do this, it doesn't sound as, that's not what you do, right? Always make sure you bring everything back in and listen to what you did, because if I did this, now they're fighting each other. Like, you can literally hear the fight, and someone's trying to drown out the other one. All right. Okay, we got that. Oh, that was another thing. I didn't even. Oops. That's not that bad, but. That weighs a little bit. Let's put it about here. I think I had this at. Come on. Hold on. No, it was 27, right? 27. We're so sorry. All right. So I think we're down to these two sounds. All right. So this is another background sound that we have, right? Right? We just want this to play in the background. So the Rhodes pretty much has the bass, right? And that like mid range kind of taken up here. We're not gonna miss any of this. Right? We're not gonna miss it. So I'm cutting all that out. Maybe we could take it to like 300. Get to about 6. All right. So looks like that 3K area again might be a little. No, it's definitely here. So again, we already know our main instrument is the sweet spot there is at 3K where we boost it. So anything else, you gotta get behind, right? All right, and then here we cut at about 300, so somewhere. Great. $21. Yeah, why not? Do a fast attack on this. Close enough. There it is. See how nice it's already sounding? All right. Then we got one sound, which is over here in this part. Doesn't come in very often, so let's see if we can do that. Okay. And set up the routing. Again, this is going to be a background sound, so do we care about that bass? We don't, right? We're going to lose that to the bass that's actually playing the bass guitar, and our Rhodes it pretty much takes all that up. So without anything, and this is with the filter. Can't tell the difference, right? Great. So, let's try this. Set our low pass right around 6K. We start to lose it. I'm gonna bring it to like 8. Could we do this one? Right here. Okay, and then try the same spot. Sounds like it's right here at about 2K. All right. Then we're still gonna drop this because we want this to be more of a background thing. And then, of course, don't forget the Q, right? Just because we put it on 2K doesn't mean it's just boosting 2K. There's a spread here, right? Depending on how wide or narrow the Q is. So it's picking up other stuff around it as well. So 2K is too close to 3K, and therefore gotta go on the back, buddy. So all right, and last thing here is let's also make this fast. Okay. Minus 21. Go back, go back. Oh no, we're starting to reach our. See if I can push this. Watch your ears. It's probably not that loud to you guys. $21, a little further down. There we go. All right, we can get rid of that loop. And all this stuff, right? For those of you who may like stream, these effects are the same. It's in OBS. It's the same thing. It's in Streamlabs, right? They all have these same effects. You want an EQ, you want a compressor, you want the stuff that you're learning here today, if that's what you're into, right? You could apply this, right? You could apply this. I know I've been saying I'm gonna redo mine like 80 times and I haven't. But it's just my mic I need to redo. Like I got compressors on my desktop audio channel and all that. So when I'm playing like video games, like a bomb or like something comes out and like screams, cause I play a lot of horror games and stuff, y'all don't get to hear it the way that I hear it. Cause the compressor's like, that's too loud, smack. And right? Try to turn the volume down. So that, my audio, when I'm playing music, same thing. But I'm not like, I got it just enough to where it just barely gets ready to touch the threshold of the compressor, right? I don't want to actually compress it. This music's already done. However, some tracks come in, they might be a little quieter than others, and getting the threshold as close as I can get, right, without actually having to push down on it, helps to keep everything else more consistent, right? It's the same everything, right? Okay, so actually, we do have one more. This is very. Which shouldn't take me long at all. Come on, we got one more, one more, one more. It's like I'm dying. Take it to about here. Get back to about 8. Great. And that's about all I'm gonna do with that. We don't need this. That alone. Leave that alone. Then 21. It's still there, kind of. Alrighty. Alright. Now all of this is finished. Now we can start playing around with stuff. So, I'm gonna start moving stuff around. Do some panning. Do a little more there. I think that's... Let's make this sound a little wider. I'm gonna do like 10 and then 10 this way. So separating those snares just a little bit. To make it sound a little wider than it actually is. So for panning, understand the energy flows in from your left and out to your right. Okay, so much like your EQ, lower frequencies start on the left, and then the higher frequencies till it gets to the right. So, for example, if you would take your left hand, place it over your left ear, right, cover it, block it, right, and speak, you'll notice that the higher frequencies are more pronounced in your right ear than your left, and then vice versa, right? You'll find out that lower frequencies are more pronounced in your left ear than higher frequencies, okay? So when we're dealing with panning, you can just listen and you can tell by the frequency. If it sounds more like